Okay, let's watch a couple of segments that are about the encoding and the original business event capture process, and then we'll talk about these in a little bit more detail, how they're applicable in today's world.
Printing in magnetic ink the amount in the location specified by ABA. Printing the process control code and the transaction code.
Now perhaps an item only has 6 positions in it. The sorter reader will detect this and will direct the item that only contains 6 positions into the reject pocket.
A double read head. And a double read head means that as we record the check information on tape, we immediately re-read it.
To the already imprinted routing, transit, and account number, the proof inscriber adds additional magnetic characters, the control and transaction code, and the dollar amount. After the last item has been inscribed, a total is imprinted in magnetic ink on a control slip for each batch of documents. This batch control slip for each package is inscribed with the batch control number and total dollar amount to aid in tight control of subsequent processing. Special pockets are selected for payroll or dividend accounts and rejected items. Every digit of every field is checked on the first pass so that invalid items are pulled out for corrections right at the start. To produce the batch proof list and ledger control totals.
When I was out on the floor, all the documents had to be hand-fed into the machines and hand-entered by each operator. And standard right now is 1,150 per hour, and in here some of our operators are already up to 1,800 and 1,900 items per hour.
This system will enable us to capture the rest of the 50% or whatever reject amounts there were. I think it's very important to look at the entire system. So when you finally finish the entire process, you've got a 100% capture system, which from beginning to end, which costs you less to operate than the present system that we've got now.
Okay, so the process of encoding transactions, this process of translating the checks into magnetic ink and writing those on the check, how does that happen today? I mean, what relevance does that have as we think about these processes today? Well, it still has quite a bit of relevance because even though most of the originating transactions now process electronically, so I don't have the same process problem that we had in 1959 of encoding them into magnetic ink for the most part. But we still have the problem when we get to different data supply chains of assigning additional attributes. One thing that often happens in the finance system is that the account number is not assigned at the moment the transaction takes place. When we turn a transaction into a debit-credit representation, we're assigning new attributes to that transaction. That process of assigning those attributes to the transaction is a process similar to the encoding process. We have reject processes that go on there where the transaction didn't have some recognized account number and it gets rejected. The transaction isn't for a new product that the accounting system never knew was going to be added. So all of those reject processes, those still happen within the finance system because the finance system isn't recording all the attributes at the point of origin of the transaction. They get added later in the process. The same thing happens in other places where we translate from the originating transactions into subsequent transactions for posting into different data supply chains. So we still have many of the same problems that are noted in this encoding system, making sure that we've captured all the transactions for some period of time, capturing control totals to make sure that we've done that. Those kinds of processes still very much go on and are very much alive in a great deal of our data processing world because of our need to replicate data for different data supply chains.